I'm 92 years old. I've buried my husband, my parents, my siblings, and more friends than I can count. And after all these years, there's one thing that keeps me awake some nights. Not death. Not illness. Not even growing old. It's realizing how much of life I wasted believing I had more time. At 60, I thought I was prepared. I had plans. I had savings. I had tomorrow. I was wrong. Painfully wrong. Because what I learned over the next 30 years may save you from the regret I've been carrying ever since. For most of my life, I believed growing old was something that happened slowly. I imagined it would arrive gently, giving me plenty of time to adjust. I thought I would notice every change as it came. A little less energy one year. A few more aches the next. I assumed I would always have enough time to prepare for whatever was waiting ahead. I was wrong. Life doesn't take everything from you at once. That's what makes it so dangerous. It takes things in small, almost invisible pieces. First, your body doesn't recover the way it used to. Then a friend misses a lunch gathering because of a doctor's appointment. A few years later, another friend is gone entirely. You lose a little strength, a little freedom, a little confidence. And because each loss seems small by itself, you convince yourself nothing has really changed. That's exactly what I did. I was so busy living my life that I failed to notice the slow subtraction taking place around me. My circle became smaller. My world became quieter. The people I loved grew older. So did I. And then one morning I looked around and realized I no longer recognized the life I was living. The most frightening part wasn't turning 80. It wasn't turning 90. The real turning point happened much earlier. It began in my 60s. That's when the countdown truly started. Not toward death. Toward change. And while I still had time to prepare, I wasted far too much of it believing there would always be more. The first lesson arrived through my own body, although I didn't recognize it at the time. When I was 62, I could walk 3 miles without thinking about it. I could get down on the floor and play with my grandchildren for hours. I could carry groceries, climb stairs, and move through the world as if strength would always be there waiting for me. Felt normal because it had always been normal. But the years kept moving. By 75, a long walk required effort. By 80, I found myself stopping halfway up the stairs to catch my breath. Then at 84, a stroke took away what remained of my independence. Suddenly, simple things became difficult. Things I had never imagined I could lose. While I was struggling with those changes, another loss was quietly unfolding around me. Every Tuesday for nearly 40 years, I met 3 women I loved dearly. Barbara, Eileen, Margaret. We shared lunches, birthdays, family stories, and every major chapter of our lives. We assumed those Tuesdays would continue forever. They didn't. Barbara died first. Then Eileen. Then Margaret. One by one, the chairs around the table became empty. Today, I am the only Tuesday girl left. The cruelest part of aging isn't losing people. It's becoming the only person who still remembers them. The loneliness of being the last witness to your shared memories is harder than I can describe. Then came another painful lesson. When my mother suffered a stroke at 89, our family discovered how little we truly knew. We didn't know where her will was. We didn't know her wishes for medical care. We didn't know how her finances were organized. In the middle of grief, confusion took over. Questions became arguments. Love became stress. And all of it could have been avoided. Looking back now, I see a pattern. The losses that shape your later years rarely arrive all at once. They arrive quietly, one piece at a time. your strength, your friendships, your certainty. That is why your 60s are not simply a reward for working hard. They are your preparation years. Because one day you will miss the ordinary things you barely noticed today. And by then it may be too late to get them back. By the time I turned 70, I thought the hardest part of life was behind me. I had worked for nearly 4 decades. I had raised my children. I had paid my bills and fulfilled my responsibilities. Retirement was supposed to feel like freedom. At least that's what I believed. But the morning after my retirement party, I woke up with nowhere to go and no reason to leave the house. 4 years I had been known as the guidance counselor, the problem solver, the person people needed. Suddenly all of that disappeared. I wasn't prepared for the silence that followed. What I expected to be a joyful chapter became 3 of the darkest years of my life. It wasn't until much later that I discovered painting, volunteering at the library, and finding purpose in small acts of service. Only then did I begin to feel like myself again. Around the same time, another truth was slowly revealing itself inside my marriage. Anthony and I were married for 63 years. When people hear that number, they imagine a lifetime of adventure. The reality was very different. The first decades were spent working and raising children. Then came responsibilities, bills, and family struggles. By the time we finally had the freedom to enjoy life together, our bodies had already begun to change. The trips became shorter. The walks became slower. Doctor appointments replaced weekend plans. Medications replaced spontaneity. Eventually, wheelchairs and hospital visits became part of our routine. I would give anything to sit beside Anthony again, but looking back, I wish we had understood how small the window of healthy years really was. And then there is the regret that still hurts the most. My brother Frank and I stopped speaking after an argument that now seems painfully insignificant. At the time I was convinced I was right. I waited for him to apologize. He waited for me. Months became years. Years became nearly a decade. Then one afternoon, I received a phone call telling me Frank had died of a heart attack. Just like that, the argument ended. But so did every possibility of reconciliation. No goodbye. No forgiveness. No second chance. 8 years of silence. And not a single one of them was worth it. I won the argument. And lost my brother. Looking back now, these lessons are connected by a single truth. Life is shorter than your pride, shorter than your plans, and shorter than your assumptions. Peace is far more valuable than being right. If there is a dream you've postponed, start it. If there is someone you love, call them. Because there are people you believe you'll have time to see again someday. Until suddenly you don't. As the years continued to pass, I made another mistake that cost me more than I realized at the time. Like many parents, I believed my adult children still needed my guidance. Every time they faced a problem, I had an answer. Every time they made a decision I disagreed with, I had advice ready. I wasn't trying to control them. At least that's what I told myself. I thought I was helping. My son Michael saw it differently. The older he became, the more I treated him like a problem to solve instead of a man building his own life. Every conversation seemed to turn into a lesson. Every struggle became an opportunity for me to tell him what I thought he should do. Slowly, almost without noticing, we drifted apart. One disagreement became another. One hurt feeling led to another. Before I knew it, 7 years had passed without us speaking. 7 years. Today, I can barely remember what some of those arguments were about. But I remember the silence. I remember missing birthdays, I remember wondering if the phone would ever ring. And I remember realizing far too late that my son never needed another counselor. He needed a mother. Some parents spend years trying to be useful and accidentally stop being present. Around that same time, I began noticing something else slipping away. My memory. At first it seemed harmless. A forgotten birthday. A misplaced name. A story I had already told 3 times without realizing it. Then one day my granddaughter asked me about a family memory from years ago. I opened my mouth to answer, and nothing came. It was simply gone. That frightened me more than I expected. So I started keeping a journal. I wrote down names, stories, memories, and moments I never wanted to lose. But there was a painful truth waiting for me there as well. Some memories had already disappeared forever. There were stories only I knew, stories that died the moment I forgot them. And then came the fears I had spent decades trying to avoid. I was afraid of losing Anthony. I lost him. I was afraid of illness. I had my stroke. I was afraid of loneliness. I experienced it. I was afraid of becoming dependent on others. Now I live with my daughter because I can no longer live alone. Every fear I carried through my 60s eventually came true. Yet here I am, still laughing, still loving, still grateful for a warm cup of coffee in the morning. That was the lesson I never expected. The things I feared did not destroy me. They changed me, but they did not end me. And perhaps that is why the final lesson matters most. When I was 60, old age felt far away. Then I turned 70, then 80, then 90. It all happened so quickly that sometimes it feels like someone flipped through the pages of my life while I wasn't looking. The years moved faster. The seasons blurred together. The people I loved grew older, and so did I. Looking back now, I see the truth clearly. Time accelerates while we are busy assuming we have more of it. That's why you must listen while you still can. Love the people around you. Write down your memories. Let go of old arguments. And stop waiting for the perfect moment to start living. Because one day you'll look back and realize the decades you thought were ahead of you were already behind you. And after everything I've told you so far, we arrive at the lesson that took me the longest to understand. When you're young, you think your greatest enemy is death. You worry about accidents, illness, the future. You spend years fearing the day your life might end. But something changes when you get old. The fear changes too. At 92, I don't spend much time thinking about death anymore. What I think about is time. The time I wasted believing I had more of it. For most of my life, I lived as if tomorrow was guaranteed. There was always another year to take the trip. Another year to make the phone call. Another year to start the project, repair the relationship, or tell someone how much they mattered to me. Next year. That became my favorite lie. And the dangerous thing about that lie is that life rarely warns you when you're running out of time. I learned that lesson on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Anthony had gone to the hardware store. There was nothing unusual about it. I was at home making a grocery list when the phone rang. 45 minutes later, everything had changed. A stroke. A store aisle. A few frantic phone calls. And then he was gone. 63 years together. Gone in less than an hour. No final conversation. No last goodbye. No second chance to say the things I thought there would always be time to say. For a long time, I believed aging was what took people from us. Now I know better. It isn't age. It isn't even death. It's delay. It's assuming there will always be another opportunity. Another summer. Another Christmas. Another tomorrow. Looking back, I don't regret growing old. Growing old was a privilege denied to many people I loved. What I regret is living as if time were unlimited. Because the truth is painfully simple. Time does not steal your life. Delay does. Most people don't lose their lives in a single day. They lose them one postponed year at a time. So if there's someone you need to call, call them. If there's a place you've always wanted to see, start planning. If there's something your heart has been asking you to do for years, begin now. Not next year. Not someday. Now. Because one day you'll discover what I discovered. The perfect moment never arrives. Life simply keeps moving forward without waiting for us. As I sit here at 92 years old looking back across the decades, I realize something important. None of these lessons arrived all at once. They didn't come from a book. They didn't come from a seminar. They didn't come from a wise teacher sitting me down and explaining life. They were paid for. Paid for with mistakes. Paid for with loss. Paid for with years I can never get back. When I look at my life now, I see the lessons more clearly than ever. I learned to protect my health before it disappears, because once strength leaves, it rarely returns the way it once was. I learned that friendships require constant renewal, because even the people you love most won't be here forever. I learned that conversations about death, money, and final wishes are uncomfortable only until the day they become necessary. I learned that a career can give you purpose, but it should never become your entire identity. I learned that the healthiest years of your life are far fewer than you imagine, and that waiting for the perfect time often means missing the opportunity completely. I learned to forgive sooner. Pride kept me separated from people I loved, and in the end, being right never brought me peace. I learned that my children didn't need another advisor. They needed a father who listened. I learned to write down my memories because memory is far more fragile than we believe. I learned that fear grows larger when we run from it, but becomes smaller when we face it. And above all, I learned to treasure time because it is the one thing we spend every day without knowing how much remains. If there is a single truth connecting all 10 lessons, it is this: life is not measured by how long you live. It is measured by how present you were while living it. So take care of your body. Call your friends. Have the difficult conversations. Forgive the people you love. Write down your story. And stop waiting for a future that is not promised to any of us. Because these lessons were not learned in a day. They were purchased with an entire lifetime. These days I live with my daughter. The house is warm. The grandchildren visit often. There is laughter here. There is love here. And for that I am grateful. But every night before I go to sleep, I do something I've done for years. I look at a photograph of Anthony. The same photograph sits on a shelf across the room. His smile hasn't changed. His eyes haven't changed. Only time has changed. And then I talk to him. I tell him about the grandchildren. I tell him about the weather. I tell him about something funny that happened during the day. Sometimes I tell him how much I miss him. Of course, he never answers. But I keep talking anyway. Because after enough years, that is what love becomes. Not possession. Not romance. Not even companionship. Just a conversation that never truly ends, even after one voice is gone. And when I think about everything I've learned, everything I've lost, and everything I wish I had understood sooner, one truth rises above all the others. If I could go back to 60, I would not work more. I would not chase more money. I would not spend so much time worrying about things that never really mattered. I would spend more afternoons with the people I loved, more dinners, more phone calls, more ordinary moments. Because in the end, those ordinary moments become the most extraordinary memories of all. One day, and I promise you this day will come, you will gladly trade every possession you own for one more quiet afternoon with someone you love. Nobody misses the money. Nobody misses the promotions. Everybody misses the people. One day, I am the only Tuesday girl left. Or conversation. One more laugh. One more chance to say, I'm glad you were here. That is the truth age taught me. And that is the truth I hope you hear before it's too late. If you're in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, or beyond, tell me in the comments, what is the greatest lesson life has taught you so far? Your story may be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if there is someone in your life you love, a friend, a parent, a spouse, a sibling, share this video with them. Not to teach them anything, but to remind them that time is far more precious than we think. And if you enjoy these honest conversations about aging, life, regret, love, and the wisdom that only time can provide, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for spending these moments with me. Until next time, take care of yourself. And don't wait too long to live the life that is already in front of you.